Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we are going to take a look at the Oracle system, story, and maybe character generators, both the cards and the PDF, to once again delve into our randomization methods in our tabletop role playing experiences and show you some simple and some premium products that are out there that I love. I happen to love to collect these kind of things, and especially because I am one who is a proponent of using anything to wipe the cobwebs out of our head, to jar loose all those really great creative ideas we have when we are stuck. So, guys, let's get past our intro and then dive right on in. Again, welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host. Thank you very much, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. This is the Oracle Story Generator from Nord Games. Again, this is a premium product. It may financially, it may not be for everyone, but there's actually a PDF version of this system. It is absolutely positively system neutral. It's based on general fantasy, and there are decks of cards, and the cards are each deck of cards. I have 5 decks, and each deck of cards is separated into 5 categories, and we're going to use that to create some great and interest, hopefully some great interesting story elements. There is the story generator, and there are there's also a PDF of this as well. I may share that out. So we have what we're gonna play with the political intrigue deck, but there's also the contracts and bounties deck. There's the epic adventures deck. There's also the relics and artifacts deck, and then there's the simple side quests deck. And as I mentioned before, sorry, I'll even show the box. There's a little boxed set here for the deck of cards to fit in. Kind of cool. The link for it is below, and I believe it's between 50 and 60 American dollars. You know, the Oracle of Delphi. Don't know. Well, in a way, I guess you could use this for that. Doesn't mean these predictions need to come true. Yeah, and this font. You know what? I'm going to change this font back. I don't. Permanent marker. Let's go with something a little easier to read. That's a little bit better. All right. So using the purpose of these decks is to give you a prompt, to give you a story, so that you have something to work with when it comes to plots and things of that nature. And what I love about this system is that you can both roll dice, because it is numerically even when it comes to dice rolling D12s and D4s and whatnot, and you can also pull the cards. And the great thing about cards, which again I've always been a little surprised about this in our tabletop community, is that if you have any kind of card selection, you can, once you draw the cards, you can just hold the cards aside and your notes are already created. Yeah. Oh, the fonts. Yeah, there's it's new. It's I have to be able to read the fonts because I'm a person of a certain age, which means I've got like my glasses on the tip of my nose and kind of thing. So I love what you guys have to say, but I also have to be able to read it as well. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different fonts. There's like, I had a permanent marker. I've got Protest Riot, Dana Puff, things like that. It looks cool, but I got to be able to read it. So I got some Montserrat. Anyway, I will also show off. You know what? F it. I'll put up the. I will put up the. There's the character generator. Oh, here we go. No. This is the Oracle generator PDF version. Did I just mark that out? No, I didn't. There we go. So I have both of these up at the same time. I may page through the PDF just because it's a bit clearer than my camera can pick up. I am having. I don't know how to control the automatic focus on the camera, so the PDF is probably a bit better to assess here in this unit. So with this PDF, matter of fact, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll place it up here. So the purpose of this, of course, is that we don't have an idea about what we want for a story, or maybe we have an idea, but we haven't figured out the details. So the first part we need to pick is what kind of story do we want to generate? And I figured we'd start out with political intrigue. So this, of course, is the cover of the box. Again, like I said, the box comes with with decks of cards. I didn't find that you could buy the cards individually. I believe it's a boxed set. And the box of cards, of course, comes with a booklet that gives you instructions on how to use it. Matter of fact, let me pull this back here again. Box of cards gives you a booklet, and the booklet walks you through kind of how to use the cards, and then it gives you plenty of examples using their own cards as adventure ideas and prompts. So they pre-created some, such as the Spawn of the Reeking Star, Eyes of the Ooze, Many-Headed Hydrangea, Save the Sphinx, etc., etc. And so there are some examples here, but essentially, basically, what you do is you pull one card from each category and we're going to create our political intrigue. And like I said, the deck of cards do have each deck of cards is specific to a type of category. So we're going to deal with political intrigue right now, just because I think that's kind of cool. But we do have like contracts and bounties, epic adventures, and side quests and relics. And let's see what you guys have to say. I'm trying to keep all these up here. Funny. Drew. Hey, thank you very much here, Drew. So, political intrigue. Let's go to. I'm gonna have to manipulate both of these at the same time. All right, so we're gonna click ourselves some political intrigue, and in the PDF, and we get ourselves two individuals there, clashing glasses. Let's see what they have to say. All right, and of course, if we get a little closer to the image, both of them have daggers behind their back. All right, so if we draw a card, let's see, a random card. Like I mentioned before, when it comes to cards, you can draw a card and now you already have your notes or notations for your card. But instead, if you come down here to the political intrigue on the PDF, we can roll a d12 as well if we wanted to, and that's what we're going to do. Let's get the dice out. Here's my d12. Boom, boom. And we rolled a 12. Cool. We have a rebel, so we're going to click, go to PDF, click a rebel. It's taking its time. There we go. Sick and tired of the status quo, rebels are persons who want change sooner rather than later. The actions they take to enact this change are sometimes questionable and sometimes exacerbate the problems. And again, with the cards, let's look for the rebel card. We'll play that out here. And now, underneath the rebel card, we have ourselves a d4. We roll a d4. and I got a 1. We have an anarchist, and these individuals try to tear down the system. They believe that chaos and disorder will help dismantle the government, faith, or other hated institution. Sounds like the best friend of Drew, if I'm not mistaken here. So again, if we have the card, and or we write down a piece of paper, or you got a Google Doc or OneNote or whatever, you already have that available. But we're not done yet. Like I said, these cards are in 5 categories. So on the front cover of the card, we have the actor. That is the person who is enacting our machinations in our story prompt, because at this point we really don't know what we're going to do with this. So now we need the action. So so with our action card, what kind of action are they going to take? So we're going to move down here, and we're going to roll ourselves a d12, and shakety shake. Really, I rolled a 12. 3. We'll swindle. Click ourselves swindle, and let me go pick the card that actually says swindle. Bribe, blackmail, mock, swindle. And again, under every one of these cards there is a d4 choice. So roll ourselves our caltrop. Rolled a 1. Fast talk. Using their charisma and charm, the actor tries to persuade the subject into doing something they might otherwise not, and they're going to use fast talk. Speak quickly and misleadingly at someone to apply pressure to a decision they need to make imminently. And that means that what I find in some of these prompts is that they're designed to give you a little bit of more of a story element. So it sounds like there's a time pressure involved, and the people that they try to fast talk may actually reconsider the choices that they made in the first place, getting themselves involved in this individual's machinations, right? So not only could they agree to our actor, but they might regret agreeing to the actor, and that may be the one way to get our player characters involved. Like maybe there's an NPC that the player characters trust, or maybe there is someone the PCs overhear this plot or what have you. And as we go along, again, we have the actor, we have the action they're going to take, we have the subject that they are going to focus on, we have their intent, like what is their purpose for doing this, and then a development, like a twist or a problem or a complication, essentially related to it. So for our subject, we are going to roll our d12, and we've got a 4. That someone beneath them. We're going to click that on the PDF. And this person does not live up to the example set by the actor. They fall behind them in some way. And we're going to have roll ourselves our caltrop. And there's a 3. Magic. An individual whose mastery over magic is inferior to that of the actor and is thus less able to defend themselves against arcane interference. So hadn't even thought about this, our perpetrator having magic. Now, it doesn't mean that they can cast magic. It means they probably have access to it, or maybe because of their fast talking, they could have or people believe they have allies related to their magic. It could be something related to a bond or a deal, or something of that nature. Like maybe they were granted some kind of arcane power. Doesn't necessarily need to be Dungeons and Dragons. They are a character class level. It could be something else as well. So let's see, someone beneath them, and there's a card here, and we have our 2 last bits and baubles, and then I'll get to what you guys have to say. We have our intent. and then our development. So for our intent with the D12, rolly roll. I wonder if you can hear this in the microphone. We have an 8 to bring another low, and a D4 caltrop. Let's 2 bankrupt. The actor intends to ruin someone in some fashion. Perhaps the subject is the intended target or is associated with them in some way. And it's called bankrupt. The actor wants to ensure commercial failure in the target, presumably so they are no longer a threat to a larger plan. Now, of course, bankrupt could be cash, but it could be something else, a loss of some kind of or access to something of great value, maybe, or it could be moral bankruptcy, but that might be pulling it just a little bit too far, especially if our actor might be morally bankrupt themselves. But we're going to bring another low, bring another low, and then our last bit of this is our development, and we are going to page down to our development. It's high quality. It's trying to catch up because it has to render each page. And of course we get our D12, and wow, it's held on the side there. 3. But there are unexpected consequences, and like I said, the development cards are like the twist, the complication, the problem. Unexpected consequences, and we're going to roll our D4 caltrop, and we got ourselves a 3. Terrorism. Ooh, the actor's action has consequences that they could not have foreseen and has a negative impact on their lives or on the world at large. And we have terrorism. After the action has occurred, the climate is ripe for an act of terrorism which sends ripples throughout the populace. And it could be maybe the actor doesn't care that there's consequences or doesn't realize there are other consequences. It's possible that the one they're acting against, like this underling or something, maybe has some kind of great power, and it is being, maybe the underling is being careful and taking a longer time in terms of harnessing this power, but the actor themselves wants to use this power right away. Let's see, consequences. Bam. All right. So essentially, this is how it works. And mind you, even with the cards that we have already picked, a rebel will swindle someone beneath them to bring another low, but there are unexpected consequences. Within each of these cards that we've already picked, there are 4 options for each of these 5 cards. So I can't do the math in my head. There are an innumerable number of choices. I believe Nord Games listed it as billions of options, and I would have to agree with them. I would even go even further to say there's probably even more than that. Shai says, this seems like the kind of accessory that's too intellectual for modern audiences. I would dare say that despite the fact that Nord Games made this for tabletop role-playing, I would say this is a great thing if you want to use it for, if you're a novelist or novellas or like what do you call flavor text, like kind of thing. I think this really works for that. Hell, even improv, or you want to be a playwright or something like that. I think these are great prompts for even things of that nature, simply because, like I said, when it comes to randomizers, random cards, random tables, random dice, it's not that they're prescribed. It's to get our brains working to go, oh, wait a minute, this made me spark me to make a better idea. And so if we just stick with what we've already picked, now mind you, we didn't go through all the cards and all the options, but let's just go through, let's change up some of the choices we've already made in this. Actually, first, let me page this back up to the cover of the game and game of the product. There it is, the Oracle generator. We're gonna go back up here. Let's see if this works a little bit better here. So we already have our cards, but let's use a simple D4 to change the aspect of how our actor is trying to manipulate or do something untowards with their underling. So we're going to take our rebel and we're going to roll a D4. I rolled a 3, and we're going to go to protester. So instead, and I know the camera's not going to be able to pick this up really well, but anyway, these are the 4 options here. And it says protesters try to cause disruption peacefully or otherwise to draw attention to causes that are important to them. So this already changes the action of our actor, because it seemed before that our actor might have been a little bit more conniving, maybe a little bit more had a little bit more of a like the more prototypical I've got a dagger behind my back and I plan on doing something about it. Whereas maybe if as a protester, maybe this person's a bit more less cautious and more public about what they're trying to do. See, there's my camera acting up. Shai says absolutely for creative writing. Don't know what the FWIW means, and that you can tell that means I'm a person of a certain age. Anyway, that's what makes your channel so interesting. World building ideas, plot setups, character development. Well, thank you very much. And mind you, you know, if we can be honest with ourselves, sometimes what ends up happening is that as role players, we're creatives ourselves, right? And sometimes maybe our dreams in role playing are the fact that maybe we feel like we don't have the ability or didn't have the time or energy or something like that in order to engage in something like acting or writing or whatever. I mean, hell, Brandon Sanderson just raised $14 million. Oh, for what it's worth. Yeah. you could tell I'm I'm okay boomer, right? Yeah. Come on, Cam. What's going on here? Protesters in RPGs, has that ever been a classic trope? Seems like a new idea based on current events. I would dare say yes. Yeah. I mean, now it doesn't mean that they're long for this life having a character that's like, protesting, but okay, we've still got 4 more cards to go through, so let's take a look at this. Matter of fact, you know what? Since my camera is acting up and it won't go in, let's go into our document here. So let's get it so we can actually see this damn thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to make it a little smaller. It's difficult. sorry about this, guys. It's really difficult for me to actually, I'm trying to see it from your point of view and then my point of view and that kind of stuff. There we go. All right, so political intrigue chart, and so we already have our actor. Now we're going to go down to swindle. So we already have our rebel. There we go. We picked rebel, and let's see if we can get this even bigger. There it is. And here are some of the prompts under the rebel. Okay, let's see if you guys can see it. No, it's not working out for me. A little better. That's a little bit better. Baby, we belong together. There we go. All right. So, underneath our rebel, we do have the anarchist, the protester, the revolutionary, and the zealot. And again, we don't need to roll, but it's fun to roll because it, like I said, to knock the cobwebs out to get a prompt. But if this person's a protester, especially if we're talking like fantasy, I have a feeling they're probably not going to be too long for this world. A lot of people that poke their heads up, you know, hey, if you're a nail that pokes up, you're going to be hit by the hammer. Now, would this NPC that's causing this be the person that starts something that gets the ball rolling for the player characters? Maybe the player characters are like, "Hey, a-hole, don't don't draw attention to yourself," right? Or maybe the player characters are there to defend this person, or maybe the player characters are someone, they agree with this character. Who knows? Now, the second card we picked, we got 5 cards. The second card we picked was called Swindle. So I think that was number 3. There it is, Swindle. We'll click Swindle, take us to on a PDF and see. Oh, great. There we go. A fraudulent scheme is employed by the actor for the purpose of depriving the subject of their money or possessions. And we've got 4 options there. We're going to see if we get a different outcome. And got a number 1, fraud, right up front. All right. The actor or one of their allies impersonates the subject in order to gain access to their assets. Now, for a protester, I could see that happening. Like maybe this rebel is getting frustrated by marching in the streets and standing on a literal soapbox screaming at the nobility or whoever's in control in this place. Now, this could be a goodly realm and our actor could be evil, but I think it sounds better if this has a draconian government, kind of totalitarian or something, and this person is stepping up, talking about the corruption of the governing system. But they're just like, shit, I need to get access to something. So maybe they're willing to employ fraud. Now, it says the actor or one of their allies. So it doesn't necessarily mean this person is performing every one of the objects ad infinitum. It could be that they have other allies or what have you, and then that's when we start getting more notes. And again, we have the cards in front of us, so even if you haven't decided what's going to happen yet, you can still use the cards and go, I've got like 3 ideas in my head, I'm not sure yet. And then boom, when the players crest the hill to go to the city state, you're like, yeah, I'm going to pick this one. Now, again, our third card is someone beneath them. So I wonder maybe there's someone beneath them that is like on their side, but hasn't really committed to the what do you call, committed to the cause, maybe, or feels like maybe you shouldn't be standing out front of the people in power, call to power, and like screaming or whatever. So here we go. We're going to click someone beneath them, and let's see if I can manipulate this. Very cool. All right, so we're going to have a D4. We're going to roll that die, and we come up with a 4. Last time I think we picked magic. This time it is standing. So let's see if we combine both of these together here. Oops. We didn't need to make it that small. So we have, this person does not live up to the example set by the actor. They fall behind them in some way. Maybe they're a little too cautious. But as a story prompt, we have standing. An individual who is less well regarded by society than the actor and might struggle to make their voice heard. Now, this underling, maybe they're an underling because of like prejudices in this society, not necessarily because they are less capable. Maybe this underling is excellent in many ways except being charismatic. So maybe they have great ideas, but no one's listening to them. Or maybe they have great ideas, but our actor is the person with the charisma that it's the classic It's the classic music group story trope, right? You have the one person who sings the best and is the best performer, but then you have the other person who's like behind the scenes, who's written all the songs and organized the group and blah blah blah. And each person's like, "Well, I'm important. No, I'm important. No, I'm important." We see that a lot. Like, you're the face, and then there's the other person who's the brains. Um, and they wanted to bring another low. To bring another low. I could see an anarchistic, rebellious group having infighting, and this kind of sounds like that, rather than it being very external. Although their internal squabbling could have external effects. I picked to bring another low. Here we go. Page 61. Cool. There we go. D4. Bam. 2. It's hard to roll to Caltrum. Bankrupt. We did that before. Number 1, demoralize. All right, to bring another low. The actor intends to ruin someone in some fashion. Perhaps the subject is the intended target or is associated with them in some way and wants to demoralize. The actor wants to break the spirit of the individual. They might be trying to make them give up a cause or a specific career path. If you guys have seen the animated Arcane, Netflix, the animated show, this kind of reminds me of that. Spoiler alert for Arcane, but we had Silco and V, begins with the letter V. Varro? Silco and Vander. Whoa, boy. Silco and Vander are our patriarchs. They are the two individuals from the lower city that we get to see a bit of a montage. And these two characters are fighting for the right, for a better life for the people in the lower city. And unfortunately, they fail in their rebellion. And one of them, as the Arcane show progresses, that one starts working against the other. So they both have the same goal, but their charisma, their intent, their purpose, they were almost like brothers, really. And come to find out that like Silco they end up fighting against each other, and Vander almost chokes to death Silco, and Silco's like, you know what? Thank you very much for doing that, because now I realize what I really need to do. And so yeah, it actually sounds kind of cool. Maybe this rebel group really didn't have a lot of influence or power, but now that we had this infighting, now all of a sudden it starts bringing things to light. And then lastly, unintended consequences. So we're going to page one down to unintended consequences, and then we'll stick to what you guys have to say. Sorry, I haven't bookmarked this at all because, again, this is random. Unintended consequences. I'm going to click that. Cool. The actor's action has consequences that they could not have foreseen, and has a negative impact on their lives or the world at large. It sounds better if it's at the world at large, but let's see. Roll a d4. I'm probably going to end up rolling the exact same thing I had before. Number 1, death. Cool, right up front. As a result of the action, at least one person dies. It might be the actor or the subject, or it could be someone tangentially involved. And what a great way for an NPC that the players have a great relationship with, and maybe that person dies, or someone in the streets, or someone of importance, or someone publicly. It's one of those classic story elements where it's like, hey, I've got something important to tell you. And the person's on the phone and they're like, tell me. They're like, no, you have to meet me on sudden death ridge, and I'll tell you there. And then our main characters show up with imminent death, cliffside or whatever, and they're dead. And what happened here? There's a lot of that stuff. Drew said it could be your face. You're still saying, are there any? Hey, Drew, I don't know. Are there any people who have not watched Arcane by now? I don't know. Listen, when it comes to spoilers, there's always that one person that's just like, I haven't seen it yet. I can't believe you spoiled something that's like 15 years old or what have you. Come on, Cam. This is wild. Anyway, I might as well even turn it off. Rocks fall, everyone dies. Yeah. Thanks, Drew. How about your voice, Drew? Have you ever decided to put out your voice, maybe like in a podcast or something? Consider it. I think you should consider it. Cyberpunk 2020, still waiting for internet access through a chip in my head. Should have had it 4 years ago. I love myself some Cyberpunk. Oh man, I love all the versions of Cyberpunk. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Speaking of protesters, what would be the? Wow, I don't know. What would be the fantasy equivalent of a roadblock? Hmm. You know what? Okay. Let's start out in a mundane kind of way, right? Like, we are talking about fantasy and proto medieval times or what have you. Now, it could be a roadblock, could be the type, because of course we're thinking of a white poster board and Sharpies. I don't know if that's exactly what we would want, but tapestries and banners hung up, and trees cut down the block to block trade routes, and bits of sabotage I think would fit in pretty well. I mean, listen, our fantasy games aren't exactly medieval. They're fantasy, but they aren't really medieval, right? So it is possible that the classic people marching in the streets and having poster board hanging up could be something that would be is possible to have something like that in a fantasy game. Some people would say would pull them out, even though there are like steam powered clockwork machines and dragons and things like unreasonable things. Having protesters, I think, isn't too far of an ask, but let's forget that part. So let's go with a little bit more classical medieval. I think it would turn out to be more sabotage than anything. And if you wanted to limit the retribution of the nobility or governing body, you could claim that they don't want to look weak, because there are outside influencers who are like, if you have people who are rebelling against you, you look weak. And it could be them trying to hide it. So they're not taking the citizenry and pulling them into the streets and, holding them at a sword point and spear point to kill them all, right? To say, hey, you need to give up the people who are sabotaging my trade routes. Maybe they don't want it to be that public, not yet. Maybe in a few weeks they might have to do this, but right now they're like, look, just clean up their mess. Don't let the word get out. Say it's because of storms or landslides or something like that, and move those damn trees and get the people fed, right? Shai says, yes, I have not watched Arcane, and I will never have time to. Okay. Also, there should be a place called Imminent Death Ridge in real life. Yeah. Oh, in the Caribbean, there's a place literally called Hell that you can visit. And of course, we have Death Valley here in the States. So I don't know. Imminent Death Ridge. You've seen that on the on soap operas and stuff. They're like, I've got something to tell you. What is it? I can't tell you over the phone. And you're like, really? Now you're gonna have to make me wait till tomorrow and to watch another 42-minute soap opera or something. But anyway, these intrigue. Sorry, this is just the political intrigue deck. that I decided to show off here, but that's not the only thing that we can show. We do have epic adventures, and let's see. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. We have epic adventures. We've got so many other things. Heck, even if we stick with political intrigue, we don't need to stick with our. Let's stick with the political intrigue because I've got the cards out, and we can stick with this in a way. Yeah, two individuals looking at each other, and I think it's so fun too because the artwork on the cards is a little bit ridiculous. I love it. But yeah. So again, the actor doesn't need to be the exact same actor. So, ooh, shoot, number 5 is a cultist. Oh, we gotta have ourselves some cultists. Artisan, scholar. Oh, it didn't take me right to it. It's not marked correctly. Cultist, criminal. Cultist. There we go. Here we have dedicated to a strange, dark goal. Cultists work on strange rituals to better their own circumstances. Often, they do not realize the full repercussions of their actions. I'm surprised they wrote this that way. Normally, I've always heard that you're not really supposed to use the same word, same adjectives and descriptors in the same sentence. So they said, because it says dedicated to a strange, dark goal, cultists work on strange rituals to better their own circumstances. I probably would have deleted the word strange. But anyway, sorry, that's a literary thing. Anyway, D4. Boop, boop, boop. Let's get our pseudo Lord of the Rings One Ring thing here. Number 3, cult leader. That's pretty simple. Cult leader. A leader of a cult is typically a charismatic or intelligent individual who has brought others under their sway. They have a direct connection with the patron. Okay, that's pretty simple. Now, mind you, if we're like, yeah, cult leader, we've seen that before, but we still want to use a cult, there is an initiate. A cult initiate is an individual who has just joined. That's kind of cool. Perhaps a recent bereavement or bankruptcy, some circumstance pushed them towards the cult. I like that. There's the fanatic. A cult fanatic is someone absolutely dedicated to the cult. They may have received boons from the cult's patron. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the leader. The leader could be jealous of the fanatic. The initiate might not quite be dedicated, right? They're like over that line, but they might be looking back at their old life a little bit. And then there's the evangelist, singing the praises of the cult to those who might be vulnerable to their proselytizing. Evangelists seek to recruit new cult members. The evangelist might be the weak link in a story, meaning like they're a little bit too loud. Everyone's been ignoring them except for this person who's like in the town square, maybe not that loud, but maybe they're just drawing a little bit too much attention to themselves. And then what they will do, their action. So maybe in their action, here we go with the D12s and D4s, right? Number 9 will charm. Okay, is that arcane? I don't know. The actor or someone working for them will delight, influence, or even control the subject through some means. D4. Come on, Come on, Caltrop. Number 1, magic. Yeah, using magic. Spells allow the actor to gain influence over the subject for a period of time, after which the subject rationalizes their actions. Doesn't need to be charm spell, right? They don't need to be hypnotized, charmed, influenced, dominated, something like that. Maybe there's magic that is being used that the side effect is like, yeah, I want to join this group, or will do what you ask me to do. Meaning like maybe they've been given a special healing potion to cure a loved one, and then the curing that loved one is like, you know what? Yeah. your capabilities, your power, your influence. I'm down for doing whatever you want me to do. I'll do it. You know, but there's other things here like using charisma, talent, or intellect. Um, Intellect could just be simply like you know what's going on. Yes, you consider us the evil cult, but listen to what we have to say, and maybe this person listens to what they have to say. What else? We have the subject. We haven't picked our subject yet, and so on and so forth. I'll get back to what you guys. Here we go. We got a subject, um, D12, and a 10. A member of the judicial system. That makes a lot of sense to me. Coming together. This individual works for justice within a city or realm. They have an important role in law enforcement and in keeping the population safe. This isn't exactly medieval either, because a lot of times, like, the judicial system was really religious, but who's to say one or the other? I mean, look right next to it. Organization is a religious order, so again, this is just for prompts, right? Is this person a judge, an executioner, a jailer, or a guard? You know, and it just says member of the judicial system. So it doesn't mean that they are a judge. It just means that with a D4, D4 roll, number 1, I judge. Okay. Judges make the final call on whether an accused individual is innocent or guilty of a crime and decide what sentence they will be given. What if the judge is like a version of an oracle? Like, they can see, they are blind, and they do nothing but judge others because all they do is see the truth. And everyone believes in their ability because to this point, they've always said the truth until this very moment in the story in which the cult reveals to the blind judge, who has the ability to always tell the truth, to lie about something. Maybe someone has convinced this group of impartial judges to lie. And because they can always tell the truth, maybe the cult members believe what they're saying. So the cult members, to them, are selling the truth, and the cult members, from their beliefs, are telling the truth. That would be pretty interesting to have a group of impartial, always accurate people who are now lying about something that causes an uproar, and to find out that they're lying. And who would believe the PCs if the PCs go to the people in power and go, you do realize that these people you trust are lying, but what's their intent and what's their political intrigue? So I rolled a 4 to uncover hidden intel. Fitting right into it, right? The actor wants to dig up some dirt on the subject or someone that they are closely associated with to use against them later. And number 3, embarrassment. The actor finds out about some compromising faux pas from the past or some connection to an embarrassing person or event. Could our cult leader... Is the cult leader doing all of this, breaking a system that's been in place for so long, that's so accurate, simply because of some rivalry, some extremely personal event, just to get revenge on someone else that they knew from their younger days or something like that? That's actually a really good idea, because they could be ruining something that for the rest of society has been working so well, and all they want to do is like, well, remember when we were in school and we were at the lunch table back in whatever. Lastly, the development, and then we'll just talk in general here. So D12, the development, number 12, but they are consumed by a vice. Consumed by a vice. Here we go. At some point during the actor's scheme, they are taken over by a vice that they cannot resist. This might make the subject suffer more, or it might buy some time in which they can be thwarted. And last roll of the caltrop, number 2, alcohol. Okay. And the options are lustfulness, alcohol, gambling, illicit substance. Um, the actor turns to the bottle after the action. Maybe it is a coping mechanism to deal with what they have done or alleviate the stress. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe the so I could see this cult being revealed, maybe their evil machinations. This plot has nothing to do with their evil machinations at all. It could just be that the cult leader wants to get some kind of revenge on someone in power, whatnot. Drew says, "I'm totally with you that the doubling of the word strange is indeed weird." I bet that was just a simple. I bet it was a extremely simple editing mistake that wouldn't come up with like a automated editor. You would have to read through it. I bet they just missed it. That's all. There's a Hell, Michigan. Very disappointing. Yeah, I only know of a Hell on it's a Caribbean island. I can't remember which one it is. Shai says, in political intrigue, do they have controlled opposition where there's a lich lord in the background who controls all the politicians who hate each other? Would that be too much like real life? Yeah, the liches, that's real life. All the politicians who hate each other. Yeah, I guess that's too. Evangelists secretly worshiping demon lord, just like real life. Yeah, yeah, hell yeah. But anyway, like I said, I like showing off these kind of things, and to be honest with you, I hope these are ideas other people could steal. It's not a big deal if somebody takes it. But again, Nord Games, this is just one deck of cards, and they come in a 5-deck pack. So each deck itself, as I have spread before me here, let's see if we can switch this back to a little bit bigger. Each deck here that I have spread before me, come on. Okay, there we go. Comes in different categories. We have the actor, the action, the subject, the intent, and the development. And we use those for our different things. Now, of course, we love ourselves some political intrigue, but we're going to pick those up for just a minute before we get out of here. Let's put political intrigue aside for just a moment, and we're going to get to epic adventures. And I love the artwork on these too. Epic adventures. We have the actor, and this is classic fantasy. This is literally like epic fantasy Lord of the Rings style thing. So we have ourselves the actor, our knight in a city destroyed by fire, probably by a dragon of some sort. And then our action, our hero dedicates themselves to a knightly order granted a magic sword by an angelic figure. And then we have our subject. The subject is a dragon and going to a great battle to take down the dragon. And then we have the intent, sitting upon a throne, the artwork sitting upon a throne with a broken sword. Hard to see this in the image, but a broken sword with all of the literally, it looks like they're sitting in a cave that looks like the maw of the dragon, sitting upon all the treasure. And then our last one is the development. That's the twist. And you see him sitting on the throne, and behind him 2 more dragons show up. It's like, yeah. Yeah, Drew says, the decks sound good for plot, but I personally don't do plot. I am all about the thematic play. Drew, you sound like, and this isn't a criticism at all, by the way. You sound, and I've heard the word story over plot. And how it's been described, and this is more literary, and how I've heard it being described is plot is the pseudo-physical elements that drive the story forward. Meaning like a plot element is a thing, when a thing happens, when another thing happens, and another thing happens. It has nothing to do with people's personalities or their motivations. It's literally like, I'm going to pick detective police procedural because it's the easiest thing I can think of. So police find clue. Clue leads to warehouse. warehouse owned by criminal, they go after criminal. Like it's literally the plotting of one action leading to the next action to the next action, devoid of personality. That story is the opposite. Story is, why are these people doing the thing? Why didn't, and now mind you, both of those things happen in our heads over and over again. And in many ways, um you're wrong. Hey, thank you. In many ways, when we when a when a piece of media doesn't hit us right, sometimes it's because the plot doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's the story that doesn't make sense, or the personalities. Like a character has every reason to leave the small town, but then they return to the small town to engage with the bad guy, right? And then people will go, well, that doesn't make sense. They had every opportunity to leave. Why would they come back? And that's because we have a thing. So that's what I've heard. You says you're wrong. And says this is a creative way to make your tradition random generator list a little interesting while moving things along. And like I said, the one, some people need a more visual style of RNG to get things going. I agree with you. And as I mentioned before, which I'm a little surprised about our tabletop role-playing community, the good thing about cards is, so I'm just going to pick the top. I'm going to pick the top card of these. I don't know what it says, right? So, but if I pick these cards and I look at the prompts and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I can get a notebook. Let me get a book here. Do I have? Well, hell, I don't even have a book nearby. Okay, well, I do. It's just, I wouldn't be able to show it to you, but I can stick these in a pocket. I could use these as bookmarkers. I've already got my prompts ready, and my so-called randomization is now, it's complete already. I literally have a story. I can go into a random table. I haven't even read these. I don't even know what these mean. Okay, but I already have it available. And like I said, it could literally be, I've already got my story, but just in case they go left, I've got this. So what do I have here? A warlord. Okay, and a warlord will bribe a terrible foe because of a curse, but they are protected by a legion. And that's what it says at the top of each of these cards. And I could literally just put them, I guess there is a color order to them because they are different colors. The artwork on the front and back of these are different, so they each correspond to their colors. But a warlord will bribe. Like, why would a warlord bribe someone? Right? And you're like, bribe? I don't know. A terrible foe? Now I've seen this kind of plot before, where a warrior class is no longer useful in a peaceful setting. So what they try to do is keep the war going on. So they make a deal with their enemy to keep the fighting going on. I think this was even a plot of like a Star Trek movie. It's the first thing that comes to mind, but I've seen it before. But is the warlord cursed? Is there a curse on the land? Who knows? It says, but they are protected by a legion. Does the terrible foe have a huge army that our warlord knows they could never defeat and is afraid to tell the population? All that. Yeah, my grimoire, my GM notebook is filled with years of lists. Yeah. Hey, I've always said that that when someone says, we've seen this in the community, right? Where someone will talk about improv, how do you improv, and then someone else will talk about prep, over prepping, under prepping, or something. And I've always come under the conclusion that all unused over prep is improv fuel, right? So the thing is that every time you write up a list or a note or whatever, if you never use it, you just use that for your improv. It makes you look like you're always prepared. And it's like, nah, I just came up with that off the top of my head. No, you didn't. You wrote that down years ago, but technically you did. It is off the top of your head. It just so happens that you you prepped it a long time ago, a couple weeks ago. You were sitting on the shitter and you were just like, what's a good idea? I know. I'm going to have a mercenary group with a Medusa and her ogre bodyguard, and there's a displacer beast that's like one of her pets, and she has a bunch of loyal orcs, and they're not just orc raiders, they've got special skills, and you write that down and you never use it, and then all of a sudden the PCs make a left turn and you decide to quantum ogre it and put it there. Drew says, for me, a good narrative feels more like literary fiction, character driven, and not like genre fiction, which is generally more event driven. Yes. Thank you very much for using those words, because you know me, it's difficult for me to draw out the proper terminology. And like you're mentioning, character driven versus event driven. So oftentimes character driven I love character driven stories, and character driven stories are very proactive. Characters who they have wants, needs, fears, anxieties. It is something driving them to make a decision, whether we like it or not, in our story, and especially in role playing, to perform an act. And there's a bunch of Powered by the Apocalypse games, like Thirsty Sword Lesbians comes to mind, but there's plenty more. Masks, and what's the high school one? Monster of the Week. Oh, my brain's not working. But a lot of those are emotionally driven storylines that happen that drive the action forward. Whereas event-driven stories are like many times external, where you have destruction, a Black Swan event, sometimes they're called, where Monster Hearts. Thank you very much. It's Monster Hearts. Yep. No question mark. Yeah. Hex crawling, and yes, hex crawling is definitely event driven. The OSR is extremely event driven concepts. Adventurers go to a place and events happen, and they deal with the events that happen. It's less about, like, now mind you, it doesn't mean you can't have both, right? Like the reason for the players to go hex crawling could be an emotional one. It could be character driven, where I need to reclaim the lost jewels to restore my family's honor, and the only reason I'm here is to do that. And then they encounter ghosts, and now they're like, those ghosts have been tormented, and I'm here to I want to see their pain alleviated by letting them move on in life, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely, in event-driven stories, players could attach themselves to those things. I just think sometimes in role-playing, us as role players, we can get a little bit we can hyper focus on one than the other, and that's not necessarily, I don't think that's necessarily good or bad. I just think that happens to be the kind of thing that that in our personal lives we may have too much chaos, and so doing things in role-playing games that kind of bring us back down, like, no, you know what, I don't really want to have to think about this. I just want the plot to keep me moving along. That's also a thing as well. But yes, Drew, I love the fact that you mentioned character driven versus event driven, and blending the two together can make a really good story. There's no such thing as over prep. What you just said is what I do with song lyrics. Always got some extra in stock. Still not able to freestyle that well, though. Yeah, that's all right. Listen, none of us are Harry Mack. That takes a specific type of categorization in the brain to have lyrics and beats and bars that you can pull from, while also using prompts that are in front of you. It's pretty wild. Yeah, well, Gygax wrote in the original book that a GM should only prep a starting city, a starting dungeon, and one interesting place in between. Yeah, and you know what? I think the reason for that The hunt for the perfect MacGuffin. I think the reason to not over prep is more for our intellectual safety, because we can get pretty frustrated when we prep a thing and the players don't head towards the problem. And it's like, I wrote up 8 different cities, and the PCs are like, nah, we don't want to do that. Yeah. Drew says, indeed, event drive play is not bad. It's just a matter of my personal taste that I stick to character driven stuff. Yeah. Oh, I don't have a problem with that. And that makes perfect sense, right? Which is why there are role playing games that are, uh, especially indie games that are very character driven, and they're trying to mechanize how to character drive a thing forward, which is bizarre to say that, but it's true, right? It is, how do you make a game with dice and randomizers, and you put it in a box or a book and make that a character driven thing? And I think that's why many indie games, how do I explain it? This is going to sound terrible, but it's not. A lot of indie games reward players for acting against their best interests so that they can portray the emotion, because sometimes our emotions don't lead us to the proper outcome. Angers and jealousies and fears and things like that work against numerical values of 1 + 1 = 2, right? And if my fear prevents me from adding another +1, most games look at you like you're playing the game wrong. Whereas indie games that are more character driven tend to be more emotional in their display. And so I like both of those. Yeah, very much storyteller versus game master approach. That's why when I talked about Vampire and I was mentioning the brilliance of how the White Wolf games, the Vampire the Masquerade, and then all the iterations that came after it, how it brought this. I don't know the numeric value, but I almost want to say it doubled the people in the games in the 90s, because there were people who liked these games but were like, nah, you know what? I would rather something a little bit more. Yeah, Rosa, I'm not a touchy-feely kind of game master. I'm a bit of both. I like to have that space. That's just me. I'm the person that likes to play the game in front of me. So if the game in front of me says, like Vampire, right, which is about what would you do if you were immortal that has to compromise your integrity all the time, and if you continue to do so, you'll lose yourself. I think it's kind of a cool idea. I think that's one way the World of Darkness influenced modern gaming. The hobby focuses more on personal experiences than troop experiences. Exactly. And one of my favorites that hasn't gotten that much attention even after like 30 plus years is the game Wraith the Oblivion, where you play wraiths. You're dead, you're a ghost, and you have to navigate this world where you are in the in-between. And most of that game is not about adventuring. It is about maintaining your sanity and maintaining your relationships with people and protecting them and such. And it's difficult to explain that game when you have like a OSR, troop style adventure party kind of thing. It's not that kind of game. Wraith the Oblivion is like Vampire the Masquerade. It's completely the opposite of that. It's how do you. The easy path is to compromise all your moral integrity and just become a beast, but that's the thing that's going to guarantee you won't be able to play your character any longer. According to Mr. Welch, the perfect MacGuffin would be the search for a bar of Milky Way dark during the zombie apocalypse. It's so funny. Yeah, we've seen storylines like that, right? Yeah. Oh poor Wraith, the game every storyteller wanted to run and no player wanted to play. Yeah. Drew says, I want all the bleed, highly emotional play. Yeah, right. but maybe I must be that way since struggling with chronic depression often makes me feel numb. Um, ooh, sorry to hear. Role playing games, of course, long after the Satanic Panic, we all know that role playing games are extremely important in terms of putting ourselves in others' shoes, right? And the military uses it. Um, uh, the skill of psychologists and psychiatrists use it all the time, and I finally people are realizing that despite the fact that these things are games, um, it also allows us to either escape temporarily what we're going through, or to place ourselves in the shoes of others to understand what they are going through. Remember, I did that one game that's a homelessness emulator, right? What a weird, not weird, what a game to show people if you're playing a character that is a homelessness emulator, right? That's not adventuring. That is, what would I do if I was in that position? And a lot of times when we read books and novels, we see television shows and movies and things. Um, Sometimes we like to put ourselves in that position. Ooh, my producer is here, and she is demanding attention. Okay, so, would Wraith have been more popular with machine guns? I don't think so. Because machine guns are pretty useless. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think you're wrong. I think you are so right. Yeah, poor Wraith. The game every storyteller wanted to run and no player wanted to play. Yeah, 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 yeah. It is not gather the you know gather gold and adventure and slay evil. Although you could do it, you wouldn't be playing much of the game. It's about 10% of the game. Yeah. Hey kitty. You wanna see everybody? They'll just see your bunghole, that's all. Yeah, it'll just be your bunghole. Come here. Come here for a minute. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. ASMR. You're not gonna purr? Yes, you are. There you go. Yeah, you go. All right, guys. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Um, say hello to Sophia. Sophie. Yeah. Yeah, you gonna rub against the microphone? Of course you are. You know, if you did this consistently, I could get 1 million plus subscribers. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We definitely hit our hour mark here. Thank you very much also for letting me just show some of these random um, randomizers that help us just get some mind fuel. Sometimes we're a little empty, and you got to stop by the mind fuel petrol station, gas station, and fuel up. So, again, your time is very valuable. Thank you very much for spending it here. I hope in return I can make a little change in your tabletop experiences and going forward. So, guys, thank you so much. Have a great day.